Look at the Drow's autos. This guy is getting gone on with Siphon, Static Storm, and a Drow. You would expect him to explode, but the Drow's autos are doing literally 0. Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today I want to be doing two things with you guys. Number one, I want to hold hands, and number two, I want to talk about Ace's Underlord. In specific, I want to talk about Ace's Underlord because I think one of the best strategies in all of Dota right now is to stack auras. I think stacking auras is honestly extremely broken, and I think it's really broken in your average pub as well. So if you guys are queuing ranked and you don't know what to buy, I think picking heroes like Darkseer, Underlord, Visage, Broodmother, the aura stackers, especially the ones that farm fast, and Underlord and Darkseer tend to be the best two examples of this, and by the way, they have good pub win rates, so definitely an option to pick. You can pick these heroes, and I really think it will allow you to dominate your games by owning teamfights with these broken items, so let's get into it. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally, with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. Alright, I want to quickly cover the draft and kind of talk about when you pick these types of heroes. Basically, I think these heroes tend to be good when the enemy team is like kind of all in on one type of damage. Then it's really easy to stack auras. For instance, if they pick all physical, you can go Crimson Greaves Wraith Pack. You know what I mean? You're going to hard counter that physical damage like crazy. However, this game, that's not exactly the case. I think they mostly pick it because they felt that the Atrophy aura would be quite valuable. And I think they also just had a general game plan of enabling this Naga Siren by buying auras to kind of amp up the illusions. And also, it's very good to shut down the Beastmaster with Underlord, right? Getting that Crimson, getting that Greaves, hard counters all the unit damage, and on top of that, Crimson and the Greaves, very good against Drow Ranger, right? That added bonus armor hard counters the marksmanship of Drow Ranger, right? If you don't understand how that works, Drow's ulti pierces through your armor, but only base armor, only armor given through agility. Not armor from Shiva's Guard, not armor given from Buckler or Vlad's or the passive of Greaves, and therefore it's actually countered very hard by items like Crimson and Greaves and just in general added armor. And yeah, so Underlord ends up being the literal last pick of the game. And it's actually a bit scary to me into the Drow Ranger Disruptor lane. This is a lane that can be a little bit difficult. However, they have a Rubik, he has a Rubik laning with him, and yeah, I think they just see such value in having a hero that can stack the auras against a Drow Beastmaster. It just makes a lot of sense, and so let's get into it. So you can see getting into the laning stage, he has a very clear idea. Against Disruptor and Drow, you need armor. This hero actually has 5 base armor. I think it's actually 4, but 5 with the branches. So you don't really need the ringer protection. I actually think that this is kind of unnecessary. It can be replaced with mangoes just for a bit of extra regen, because going from 5 armor to 7 armor, it's not some insane increase. I think it's about like 6% resistance, which is, it's not nothing, but it's not incredible. Either way, getting into the lane, he actually took his E at level 1. I think this is mostly just him trying to counter out the ET a little bit and give them a way to fight back. Now, in terms of the laning stage, he's going to be mostly just pulling creep aggro. If you watch this lane full throughout, it's essentially him just pulling aggro, pulling aggro, pulling aggro. When you're laning against Drow Ranger, if you don't pull aggro, you feed. Like, that's how it works, because when she frost arrows and doesn't pull creep aggro on the wave, you essentially get hit 10, 15, 20 times in the first 3 minutes of the lane, and that's unsustainable. So yeah, as you'll see, aggro, go for a deny because of the fact you have some bonus damage, aggro, hit, keep the lane back, sap a little bit of range XP, buy some extra tangos. I think this is actually it's at least his first 6 tangos. That actually might be 9 tangos. And then he's going to be picking up either boots or ring of health. So his items are completely designed just to survive the lane. If you're laning against something like, let's say you're laning against something like Wraith King or Sven, you can actually opt to buy an early bracer. And the reason why is in those lanes against the easier matchups, you can kind of stack up on damage and really just play to deny a ton of creeps. But this is certainly not one of those lanes. Yeah, so eventually he ends up picking up Ring of Health here. And that's just going to allow him to generally sustain the lane. And of course, that's going to later build into the Vanguard, so it's a very natural build-up. From here, at level 4, this is when your hero truly peaks. And the reason why is Atrophy Aura triples in damage reduction. You heard that right, it triples in damage reduction. And for every creep that dies around you, you go from 2 damage per creep to 4. So Atrophy Aura becomes way stronger at level 4, and so does Firestorm, going from 30 wave damage to 50. On top of that, the cast range increases, the cooldown goes down, and the max HP burn goes up. So the hero becomes wildly different at level 4. And if you go Boots, this is when you get really aggressive and try to hit them a ton. If you go Vanguard, it's kind of the same thing, right? When you have Vanguard, most safe laners do practically 0 damage to you. And so you can actually look to get aggressive. He actually puts a priority on side pulling here, which I think is pretty cool as well, because you can definitely look to just kind of farm up that side pull with your Q and get really huge. As you can see, farms up the entire side pull, gets the creep wave to push in. He's going to be able to farm that up as well, and aces off to an incredible 45 CS. And so put all of your emphasis on maxing out your last hits. People would put too much emphasis on harassing with the Q. The Q should almost never be used to harass until you are at least level 3 and it's level 2, or you're level 4 and you've decided that you're going to start pressuring the enemy safe laner hard. Next item you're going to buy is Mana Boots. There's no way around this. Mana Boots is basically the best mana regen item in the game because it builds for boots and it just gives so much mana regen, especially if you're giving it to your teammates. So it's kind of a no-brainer. You have to buy Mana Boots next. He actually takes, this is something that Ace does a little bit different from other players. He takes Pit of Malice and Fiend's Gate almost every game, which a lot of players don't. But he likes to look to get active and look for kills, because a lot of the time what you'll actually see is another point in Firestorm and another point in Atrophy Aura, and you really just look to sit in the lane with your Vanguard and zone out the enemy safe laner and just deny all of their creeps. And that's a great option, and that's actually a very viable way of playing Underlord. But he actually puts a priority on using that Fiend's Gate and kind of playing like a nature's prophet. As you can see here, his Naga Siren gets roared up in the top lane, and funny enough, here he comes. He's Fiend's Gating in, decides to cancel because Thirachio's just feeding. What can you do? But yeah, that's often how he looks to play the hero. Once he has his Mana Boots and has enough mana to sustain it, he gets aggressive. The next thing you want to do is farm. Yeah, well, also he does look for a kill here on the other Titan as the Ember Spear rotates in. So obviously a pretty easy decision here to just kill off the ET. Nice little free kill for the Ember Spirit, beautiful. But yeah, this is why this hero is so good in pubs, because the playstyle is so simple. A lot of people will grief it a lot of the time by over-rotating, especially they'll commit their TP, and that's like generally really bad. You can see he's kind of looking around because another thing you can do is defend the tower. A reason why Underlord can hard counter Beastmaster is you can TP to his lane, or Fiend's Gate is a better option. You get to save your TP, save the gold. You can Fiend's Gate to his lane with the Vanguard, basically unkillable, right? And you can continue to defend the safe lane tower, and then you can give your safe laner your lane. So there's really good strategies within that, but for the most part, you're only looking to Fiend's Gate into fights, and then outside of that, you want to be just stacking this camp, dragging the creep wave from here to the small camp, farming them at the same time, and really looking to get huge. And we actually end up seeing an excellent Fiend's Gate here from Ace. Like, these Fiend's Gates that he does are so good, man. Like, they're so high skill. We'll see him go in here, hop on towards the DP, and yeah, it's easy. You just drop your W. After you drop your W, you drop your Q. Hopefully your team has a stun to keep them in the W so it procs again. In this case, it ends up being Tofu's Rubik. They break the Spirit Siphon, and yeah, they take down Amar's Death Prophet. And from there, he always does this, and this is what I love. He never commits his TP, and this always gives him so much room to just make so many rotations, because when he goes for these Fiend's Gate kills, he always tries to get in, get out. Every time he does this, man. Every time, get in, get out. And now his team can even come bottom and look to gank this Elder Titan, which funny enough Quinn actually does, and they end up finding Kuroki in the bottom lane as well. This Fiend's Gate usage is so insanely good, right? You do have to communicate to your team, hey, look, bottom, right? My Fiend's Gate goes back to bottom, and their carry is farming bottom, their support is farming bottom. We can take it and make that play again. And now look at this, 12-minute Crimson Guard. I mean, that is devastating. I'm not even just saying that. That is devastating, right? Absolutely devastating to the enemy team. This Drow will hit for 0, and all of the creeps will hit for about 0 when he procs this active item. If you don't understand Crimson Guard as an item, I'll quickly explain it. You proc it on your teammates. It has an insane AoE, so it basically hits everyone. It's 1200 radius. It's like literally massive. And then for 12 seconds, they have an 100% chance to block 75 damage from every attack. 75, 100% of the time. That means boar does 0 damage. A dominated creep does about 0. Most auto attacks from supports do 0. People take no physical damage essentially until the game progresses. So from this point on, I actually admire how Ace plays. We should all strive to be a little bit more like Ace. And what I mean by that is he's so good at forcing the issue on his timing. Now, I say that and he's going to end up feeding, which kind of makes my point somewhat invalid. However, what he ends up doing really is just kind of baiting the enemy team to use spells on him, and that's going to actually open up the map for gaming gladiators in the long run, right? You'll see in a moment, he's going to push out the mid lane, and the reason why he's doing this is they kind of want to close off the enemy. They know that Beastmaster and Drow are top, so if he just keeps farming bottom, he'll get really farmed, and that's certainly an option, and that's actually what I would have done. But I can see why it's maybe not optimal and why maybe Ace would, do otherwise, because he's actually going to shift towards top. He's going to move towards this Drow and this Beastmaster, take the farm away from the Drow, right? Farm up her triangle, force her to run across the entirety of the map. And if the enemy team was to decide to fight, you have a Crimson, right? You have a damn Crimson Guard and Atrophy Aura. No one is hitting for more than 0 damage. The only way to kill this Underlord is to do this. Exo and Static Storm and Stomp and ET ult, and now you've burned 3 ults. You know what happens when you burn 3 ults and you get chipped down? You lose your mid tower. This death on Ace, I almost think it's positive. Like, I actually believe this is somewhat the future of Dota. I don't know how much I can confirm that I believe this, but you guys kind of see what I'm saying? Look what happens now when he respawns, okay? Respawns, Ligma is stupid and stays around the mid tower, even though they know Game of Gladiators is in the area. They don't have any spells. They have some Spirit Siphons, but they don't have any spells, right? Look what happens. They lose their mid tower. The Death Prophet dies, they have no spells to fight, and down goes to mid tower. And trust me, I would trade my Underlord life for mid tower any day of the week, right? And now they can invade the Drow's Triangle, take away these camps, farm that up, force the enemy team to the bot side of the map. And the reason why this is so good to force them, okay, Enigma even ends up kind of running into them, but the reason why it can be so good to force them into one side of the map is it makes smoke ganks very reliable. But we'll see if fight break out. He's going to look to pop the Crimson. And look at the damage, right? Look at the Drow's autos. This guy is getting gone on with Siphon, Static Storm, and a Drow. You would expect him to explode, but the Drow's autos are doing 0. Because also, Drow gets a ton of base damage, right? How Drow works is Marksmanship gives her bonus agi, right? And so that gives her base damage. And what Underlord reduces with his Atrophy Aura in a huge radius is base damage. So this Drow hits for literally 0. If you think I'm kidding, I'm not. Look at her autos on Rubik. That was a proc. She got a marksmanship proc. Look at this hit. It did 0. 0 damage. A Drow is hitting for 0. And you might be like, oh, she's poor. Okay, she's poor, but she still has a Dragon Lance and 2 stat items and a Possessed Mask, right? You don't expect 0. It's actually ridiculous. As like Sumail's not even practically doing 0. He's actually doing 0, and they just run them over, right? That looked like a fight that was honestly somewhat bad to me. But when you completely remove a hero in the Drow and then like make Beastmaster's units do also about 0, things look a bit better. And at this point in the game, this is why stacking auras is just kind of broken. He has this mech, he has this Crimson Guard, he has this maxed out E. Like Firestorm and Pit of Malice, even without any item to enable them, are still some of the best spells in the game. And that's why this works so well on Underlord, right? You still have Firestorm, which is like, it does percentage-based damage. This ability is kind of nuts, actually. And you can eventually buy your shard and it does like a wild amount of damage. Like this ability is quite crazy. And it allows you to farm without needing an item to do that as well. So yeah, it just walks in. Like this fight looks kind of suspect, right? Your Ember Spirit gets ET ulti, Static Storm, roared, and he's going to take 0 damage. Every auto attack does nothing. He gets mech'd up, and he's completely fine. And that's when you know the game is completely over. I mean, truly, like, and you might be like, oh, they're 11k ahead speed. This doesn't apply in my games. I'm never going to be this far ahead. Even if the game was closer, the Ember's not dying, right? Even if the game is closer, the Ember is going to live there. Right? I mean, this Crimson mech is not that expensive. He currently has a Buckler, which is highly unnecessary, and then 1,000 gold towards Greaves, right? He could have had these items even with, 1k, 1.5k less net worth. And that's why this hero tends to win pubs. And from there, you just continue to stack whatever's good for the game, right? He ends up going Greaves. The enemy team is like largely physical, so that's really nice. He even could go Wraith Pact that actually counters the Death Prophet ulti really hard because it reduces physical damage, and DP ulti is physical damage. So that's kind of cool tech. DP tends not to go early BKB in a lot of games, so Wraith Pact is actually a really hard DP counter. A little interesting tech that I've learned. It's obviously also pretty good against the Beast units and the Drow as well, so that's pretty damn good. But from there, he's just gonna kind of sit mid and continue to cut the mid wave. You can see what Ace is looking to do here, pushing in the mid wave, kind of closing out the map. And the reason why you want to sit mid as Underlord in most games is you're not looking to take all of the space on the map, especially if you have a mid like Ember Spirit and a hero like Naga Siren. You know what I mean? You're going to be wanting to let them take all the side lane farm and let them connect to the fights, while you can kind of body the smokes, right? If the enemy team was to smoke gank, you can kind of tank it as, look at this Fiend's Gate. That's dirty. He's so damn good at Fiend's Gating, man. I'm telling you, this guy is actually so good at Fiend's Gating. All right, we're gonna watch basically what is the last fight of this game, as 20k lead at 20 minutes means the game is practically over. But just to show once again, Crimson Guard comes out. He also has a hood now, so clearly going for the pipe. And even though it's not an insanely good pipe game, when you're this far ahead, pipe is just still good. It's gonna block the wild axis damage. It's gonna block the Static Storm, the Echo Stomp, the Spirit Siphons, the Crypt Swarm, you know what I mean? It's still going to block a good amount of damage and just kind of put everyone over the edge of being unkillable And that's exactly what's going to happen as he lays out the Pit of Malice. Really good with the Naga Siren ulti, right? Very clean set of spells. Pretty good synergy there. And yeah, they just run in. Even though, once again, running through the enemy's spells is typically a horrible idea. Like, the way they're taking this fight looks pretty damn low skill. They are running through the enemy heroes, through a choke point, through Static Storm. Like, you can't ask for a more ugly fight, but it just kind of doesn't matter because they can't die at all. This is also really just good timings overall. You know, Duracio's quite farmed. He even could have went more of a defensive build if he wanted to be truly unkillable, but, you know, I could see why he would just go working in a game like this. Also, Quinn having a great game. Very early BKB timing at 22 minutes. I think he even had it at 20. So, thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. I just want to kind of inspire you guys to try out these aura builds. I think a lot of people they'll just like buy Atos in a game where it's very easy to shut down the enemy team's damage type. And keep in mind, you know, you don't have to rush Crimson. I think rushing Crimson tends to be nice because I feel like Vanguard is just so good for the laning stage. It just blocks all the physical that tends to be the main reason why people die early. But like, let's say it's a game where the enemy team is all magic damage. Of course, you can rush up that pipe, or you can go mech into pipe. I actually don't recommend rushing Greaves in most games. I'm personally kind of I'm on the fence about Greaves. Sometimes I think this item is so good, sometimes I don't. I think it really comes down to if you think the Dispel is really good, right? When you proc the item, are you dispelling like maybe a Spirit Vessel? Are you dispelling Ember Chains, Silences? Maybe someone rushes an Atos for some reason, you know, like a Skywrath or a DP mid rushing Atos. You know, if you're purging something that's like really valuable for the enemy team, then I think it's a good idea. But all right, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. This game does end up ending very, very shortly. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.